It has the same issue as like The Last Jedi. Hey guys, we made it like the olden days. We made it just like they did, but it doesn't really care about being a good movie. It's just like, oh, we did it this way. It's like if engineers directed a movie. Well, I made this thing and it does a really good thing here. It's really cool, but it probably shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's just the Disney formula, though.
It's like, yeah, but like Disney owns Marvel, so why can't they make a good movie?
Yeah, are you saying all the Marvel movies are good too?
I'm saying they're all at least of like acceptable quality. They're all at least like 6 out of 10s or better. Like Solo is like 2 out of 10. Oof. Or
So,
like
oh,
they make
finish.
things relevant that shouldn't be. Like in the story, they shouldn't be relevant. Like when he gets his blaster from the first time, we know that's the famous blaster, but there's no reason to linger on that or for him to hold it longer than necessary. He doesn't know that's famous in the future.
Yeah, I think what really ruined the movie for me was all the references back to the original series or the original trilogy, which is just like, we don't need any of this. Just let it exist, you know?
It's like I think Force Awakens was pretty fine. Rogue One was pretty fine, but the other two are just like, oh god.
So,
Uh,
we're gonna jump right in here after pretty much, I'm pretty sure that's everyone's opinion on Solo, even though nobody went to see it, apparently.
yeah,
Let's jump into Dota stuff. I got Vynill with me here this week. We've had a pretty slow start to the RD2L season so far. You guys have only played at one actual series of games. How do you feel about your team thus far?
I think we're pretty strong because I went into the team. There's only one player who I didn't know prior in some way. Like either I knew the player and played with them, or I had Nugget Nick, who's my friend. He had played with them before with Rubity, so I feel like we're pretty strong there. It's just kind of like we're missing my third pick currently, but he's coming back later. But it's currently that, and so we're having to lane it kind of weird, but it's also perfectly fine because we're actually learning things like that. I've learned more about my team from watching other people play because then my people will be like, oh, I don't like this item build on him, or like I don't want to lane this hero like this. This feels disgusting. It's pretty interesting because they normally wouldn't tell you things like that until you've already done it.
Hmm. So you were able to go in and start already building that team dynamic.
Yeah. So me and Nugget Nick have about 1,000 games together now, and we are like we've been friends for multiple years now in real life, and so that's pretty good. And then I knew Hotshot because Hotshot was a Melliflox trainee, and I played with Melliflox last season, so I already knew him, and I knew he was a competent enough player to pick. Rubity Nugget Nick played with on Prohibit's team, and anybody that can do stable on with Prohibit is good enough to draft, in my opinion. And also, there just weren't a lot of mids in the pool this season, so I needed somebody who I knew was going to be at least acceptable in the mid lane and not feed.
So you're already starting off the season with a decent advantage, and having played, I was checking over your Dota buff, and I think you're right. It's like over 1,000 games with Nugget Nick, which is insane.
Yeah, we
But
got the Filsky Nutter combo here.
solid. Uh, well, let's jump right to Nugget Nick. I do have a question about him. He has 3 seasons of RD2L experience under his belt, which isn't much, but I mean that's more than most people that have started to play this season, or at least they have less experience of recent seasons. Do you think that kind of competitive Dota experience brings anything special to the table?
He knows how to. If you play with him pubs, and you can ask Riles about this, he's very different than when in RD2O. He's more formal. Everyone kind of gets more serious and more professional in it. But he knows actually how to not be the scared legend player among the Divine Fives. He knows how to just focus down the communication to what's necessary and what he needs to say to them. So we had an issue last season with my team where one of our ancient players just didn't know when to stop talking at one point, but we figured that out eventually. But Nugget Nick knows how to not do that while still being fun to play with. So he's absurdly fun in bubs, but he's a fucking gamester.
Good to know. So the way to beat you guys is to just get Nugget Nick to start memeing.
Oh yeah, just do some USA chants in all chat, and then he might join in on that.
Sounds good. So we're gonna kind of doing this in a backwards way, but we're gonna jump to your first pick, a flying monkey. First pick offlaner for you. What is your philosophy on first picking offlane, and why a flying monkey in particular?
So he actually was picked to be safe lane, and he's only offlane right now because my third pick, Trojan Horse, who's a god tier offlaner, is missing. He's in Europe right now on vacation. He should be back next week though. But so I don't think you should probably ever draft your offlaner first. I think it is a huge benefit to be an offlaner yourself as a captain though, especially if you're high MMR. But I shifted him to offlane because Nugget Nick played carry for Prohibit and did really well with that one season. And then I looked at Trojan's games and I'm like, oh my god, this guy has like 30 Centaur Warrunner games with like a 75% win rate on his esports Dota buff because he won Seal one season. So I realized he was a pretty good offlaner. I also realized that while Hotshot has good Doom play because he was coached by Melfox on that hero specifically, pretty much, he doesn't really mess with the enemy safe laner as much as I'd like to slow down their farm on his other heroes, and people ban Doom. So I had to figure out a system where it's like, all right, we're gonna slow down the enemy carry, and we're going to dominate the offlane. So now we're just running a flying monkey in the offlane, and he likes to be these super aggressive heroes that outplay the opponent or just like, oh, you can't kill me. So that's pretty interesting. I do think first picking the offlaner is not the worst thing you could do, but I don't think it's the right way to go about RD2L.
Sounds a little bit like the Shea Doctor experience there, where you just pick him heroes that can easily win his lane, and you at least have one lane one every game.
Yeah, it's like Shea Doctor. Like I noticed he was playing when I did my reviews. He was playing like safe lane for a few games, and that went terribly, except for one game with Venomancer, which he did it okay in. And then he shifted back to offlane. It's like I think that's like the strength of having a good offlaner is that they can dominate that lane if the other supports do not know how to function or they're not being directed well. That's like the difference in Mellofox and Prohibit. Mellofox will like direct his supports around him, and while that can sometimes be disastrous, most of the times you'll just win the lane outright. Like the only lane we lost with Mellofox on my carry, me supporting him, was actually against Shea Adopted because he messed with us so much and he just jumped on us. But I do think that that's a much better style to have your carry directing your supports than like the Prohibit style where it's like, all right, I'm gonna do these god tier plays and I'm not gonna convey any of it to you. Here's a chat wheel affirmative.
Mm. And so last week, talking to Nolagon, he picked two really high-ranked support players. Do you think that was a strong idea for him, or do you think that doesn't work?
I think that having your safe lane be a low MMR is perfectly fine, so long as you're confident that they know what they're doing. Like Nugget Nick, I think is perfectly fine carry. He's just his only issue is that he's a bit outdated on some item builds, but I don't think that, especially in like last season and the season before, where we had like Mina, Dark, and everyone in mid, I don't think you can get away with not picking a high MMR mid. Like I took a gamble last season with Daywalker, who's Ancient 4, and he's kind of like feast or famine type mid. So it's like, all right, he's gonna play Divine 3 this day, and he's gonna be Archon 4 today. So I don't think you can get away with picking just like a legend in mid, unless you're just going to like just be like, all right, we're gonna win the other lane so hard it won't even matter. He just has to play a hero that needs levels.
Okay, and we discussed Hotshot a little bit. Let's talk about Hotshot, because I want to ask a question about his MMR, but of course we got the MMR resets, and he's already back up to Legend 3. I'm still going to call him a value pick. I think a lot of people overlooked him, and of course you had the research to know that Melifox had coached him in the past. Was there any other reasons why you decided to pick Hotshot and go for him, whereas other captains kind of skipped over him?
I think I had about 40 games with Hotshot before I picked him. because I had stacked with Melflux and he was just kind of in there, and also he cast a few of our games last season because he had in the draft late, and I think Hotshot plays probably about Legend 3. I think that's about accurate for his like overall play now. I think his Doom is pretty high level compared to anything else that he plays, although he's really a support player at heart. But I do like Hotshot is so absurd. He went to like Ancient 5 in a week from Archon 5, and then as Reddit knows, they reset all the challenge tokens. So then he went down to Legend 0, and he won one game, and then he's at Legend 3, which I think is probably accurate. Because Legend 0 is like if you had none of the extra MMR from the tokens. But Legend 3 is pretty accurate. I think he should probably stay around there. But I do think he is a value pick. My second choice would have been like Oh Boy, just because I know that kid. Like he's much lower than Hotshot, but I know him. He's a known quantity, and I stand by the fact that that kid plays at like Archon 4 levels, even though he's Crusader.
Okay, and we'll get on to your second pick, last question here, about the mid Ruby. We talked a little bit about being able to kind of rebound from a lost mid. If Ruby does end up losing mid, do you feel that he is a player that can play from behind, or does his lane outcome pretty much determine how well the game's going to go?
Ruby was picked solely to be a stable mid, and I've learned over the course of times that his weakest moment, like mentally in his fortitude, is just in the lane phase. But once he gets past like that 15 minutes, once he starts moving around, then he'll actually get a lot better, even if his lane went like subpar. But you have to kind of work around him a little bit. Like if he's really doing terrible in mid, you have to throw him a bone and like roam your support there, even if they're not like the best support, and just sit on the enemy one so that he can get some sort of advantage over them. But he's picked to be a stable player, so he plays like Viper. It's like I was like, you can pick any hero you want. I want to see what you do. And he picked Viper. It's like, oh no, what are you doing? You got like his most played hero is Storm Spirit. So I don't know why he didn't pick a more fun hero, but he's definitely much better in that he can recover. He's not like Daywalker had the issue of he could not. If he lost lane too hard, he would actually just go to the jungle and be like, I'm not going back to lane. Whereas Ruby will find these openings that he can go into, which is really valuable. It's like, oh, okay, we actually have a 5-person team, not a 4-person team with jungler.
All right. Well, we're gonna end the interview portion there. Sounds like you guys got a solid team put together. Top one guaranteed. But I'll say that for every team I interview just because I'm nice. We're gonna jump into the Dota Buff quiz portion of the interview. I hope you've studied. Of course you haven't, because it wouldn't be fun if you had. So, question number 1. I feel like most of these are actually pretty easy, but we'll see how it ends up going. Question number 1: what is your ratio of core to support games, and what is your win rate in both types?
Oof, starting off heavy. It's probably gonna be, I think, from Dota Buff, it would tell you that it's about, like, I think it's 80. No. Yeah, it's probably gonna be about 80% core, and probably about 70% of that is gonna be mid alone. So it'd be 20% support, and then the win rates would probably be, I think it's probably gonna be like 60% for core, and probably 47 or 48 for support, somewhere around there. I know it's probably gonna be below 50 for support.
Okay, so a little bit off. You're about 20% off on the ratio. It's about 60 for core and 40 support games. And then your win rate was totally correct for core games, but your support win rate is actually above 50%. It's 55%. So giving yourself a little less credit than you deserve, I guess. But
Got that Melliflux boost because I play support with him, I guess.
he just doesn't matter what you do, he's gonna win the games for you.
Unless he picks AM. Then we lose.
Question number 2, also shots fired at Melliflux AM. What is your record for assists, and what hero did you get it on?
Ooh, it's gonna be like 34, and it's gonna be either Ooh, what was that on? It's gonna be some dumb shit that I don't play that much. It's gonna be like
It
Disruptor
is.
Sky.
It's neither of those two. I'll give you that.
Uh, could be. I don't know. It could be Oracle. I actually don't know what hero that would be. It's probably around 34 assists. Or isn't it Wind? No.
It's not Wind Ranger. It's one of my favorite heroes.
I don't know you. God, it could be Spectre, but I highly doubt it is.
It's a support hero unless you play Spectre support.
Oh, I don't know what it would be because I don't get assist on Naga.
All right. Is that conceding?
That is conceding defeat there.
All right.
No idea what this
it is 36, but I mean you guessed 34, which is close enough for that amount, and it is Elder Titan.
That shouldn't count because I'm pretty sure that's actually like
it was
like an ability draft game.
Well, you bought Dagon on Elder Titan, I think, if I remember, if I looked at the game, so it might have been just some clowny game, but apparently whatever you were doing worked, so.
I'm pretty sure that was with Nugget Nick.
It was, yes.
Oof.
So, question number 3, what is your current average for last hits at 10 minutes?
It's all time?
Yes, all time.
It's probably going to be. See, I've been playing a lot of. I think 300 games in Lena recently, so it's probably going to be like somewhere between 13 or 14. I think I average like 18 on most of my cores, and then I have a bunch of support games randomly thrown in where it's like 1. It's probably going to be like 13 or 14.
It's actually at 45.
I've misunderstood the question.
Oh, are you saying, what did you think?
No, I misheard it. I thought it was I thought it was how many like last hits I get per minute, not in the first
yeah, last hits at 10 minutes.
Yeah, I would have guessed like 40.
Yeah, close enough. Also shout out your last Lena game. I think you got like 95 last hits at 10 minutes, which is pretty insane. That's like pro level right there. So, question 4: how many total kills have you racked up in Dota all time? This one, there's no way you're gonna get. So
what question is this? I watched Mellowfuck's interview. He's got like, "What's your longest game?" And it's
it's random, dude. I don't pick the. Well, I do pick the questions, but they're mostly random.
It's gonna be like. It's gonna be I think it's gonna be. I don't think it's in the millions. It's gonna be in the.
It's nowhere near million. It's less than
probably gonna be
less than 50,000. I'll give you that.
It's probably I would have to guess probably 22,000.
18,000. But again, you're that magic number 4 away, so we'll give it to you. That was maybe I should have asked this next one first, which is question number 5. What is your average kills per game in the last 20 matches? Which might be a little easier.
What have I played recently? Let's see. I've played like Lena Wind, so it's gonna be somewhere. It's gonna be
a
like,
single digit.
It's gonna be 9. I'm gonna say 9.
3 off this time. It is 6.
Oof. That means I'm not a good Wind player, I guess.
Well, if I remember looking correctly, Wind Ranger is one of your only heroes that you have like 70% win rate, and you played like 23 matches or something, so it's also pretty impressive.
What? I have like 100 games on Wind.
Seriously? Did I just not look at this right? Hold on. Whatever.
Wind's my second most played behind Lena.
What's your second most played?
It's Wind. Wind's second most played behind Lena. Like 300 Lena games and 100 Wind.
Yeah, that's right. 113, but 62%, which is still pretty impressive there. So, Vynill, I did forget to mention this at the beginning, but you contributed to the interview interview process by giving me the nice background here. I forgot to mention it last week when I actually started using it, but thanks so much for that. I think it looks 20 times better than a gray background, and I may not be using it to its fullest potential yet, but we'll figure something out in the future. Thanks so much for that, and thanks for coming on today. Do you have any last things to say about your team, about the other teams?
I need to say that Filski is certainly the best offlaner in our division. Clearly, there's no contest about that.
You know,
How could Ancient 4 be worse than a Divine 5 offlane?
I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in Discord, but the best offlaner is also the interviewer. So I don't know where you guys are coming from on Filski being the best offlaner, but to each their own.
So, yeah, I hope that Redondo does well with that time. But that's about it. That's all I got.
Oh my god. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Vynill. Have a good next couple of weeks. We actually have games this Sunday, which is nice. Good luck making the playoffs.
All right. Good luck. Thank you.